Hey guys, and welcome to my presentation on accessible documents and accessible PowerPoints and things, just accessibility in general. I'm here to show you a few pointers on how you can, keep your documents that you produce accessible, documents and PowerPoints. And I even have some web browsing accessibility tips I'd like to share and, tips for web development as well. So let's just dive right into it. Some general accessibility points I'd like to share with you. If you use an image, graphic, or chart in anything, ensure that they are tagged with the proper alt text so that screen readers can pick them up. Okay, that's so make it so that people with visual impairments can identify what an image is and understand it. Also, have utilized proper color contrast by avoiding colors like red, green, and orange. A good way to test color contrast is to view the content in grayscale mode. If you can't decipher what it means from there, it's inaccessible. To show emphasis in charts, use textures and draw a circle around key points that you want to highlight instead of highlighting with color. This will just make it plain as day, clear to anyone, whether they have color blindness or not. And then also have utilized descriptive hyperlink text as opposed to URLs call to actions like the text saying click here to clarify what the link actually is in the text. So like it shouldn't be very indescript like the click here. The example I have here, if you're using the Google Accessibility web page, your link should look like this, and that's the one that says Google Help Center Accessible Documents and Presentations Guide. Talking a little bit more about the color contrast. The two charts below show a good example of color contrast well executed. The chart on the left here has like a baby blue and a dark blue, but because it's light and dark, it shows up great in grayscale. So that's a good example. And then there's also the texture chart example. Uh, I was referring to using textures as a way to highlight stuff. This is a good example of using that. You can see each pattern is clearly different from the other. So if you were to take this in grayscale, they would all look unique, which is what you want. Alt text is one of the most vital pieces to make documents more accessible. Readers and users with visual impairments will be able to better understand the appearance and function of images in the document. Some tips to properly include them are to 1. Describe the image as specifically as possible while keeping them short. 2. Don't include terms like image of because it's already assumed that the alt text is referring to an image. 3. For images that require long descriptions on web pages, use the long deck tag. That way, they'll know it's a long description. If you repeatedly use an image like a logo, you can use like a blank alt text so that the screen reader will skip over it and they don't keep seeing, company logo, company logo, company logo at every single turn. This is accomplished by putting a space in the alt text. Here I have an alt text example I'd like to show you. Below I've inserted an image with the proper alt text. Be sure to note that the text that I'm about to share with you is short but descriptive. In PowerPoint, it is important that you insert an image as its own element using the insert tool, not just copying it into a text box. It allows the image to be properly read, and always place images with alt text directly into their proper context on Word documents so the user is not disoriented by out of place text. This means that if it's referring to something in the middle of a bunch of text, put it in the middle of the text. That way they don't, get to the end of the page and it's like bees sitting on top of a flower. It's like, wait, we talked about bees like 3 subjects ago. That's very disorienting. So I'll just go ahead and show you this while we're talking about alt text. All right, I've got this pulled up here and I'm going to click on my B. And as you notice here, you have all these buttons, but we're going to click on alt text. You can also access this by Control Alt Y from your key options. So we'll just click on that there. And I have honeybee sitting atop a wildflower. A quick tip while I'm pointing it out, always in Google Docs, always fill out the description section for the alt text. Okay. All right, we're going to move on back to presenting. All right, organization tips. Here's just a few tips that you guys can use to organize things to help out, the accessibility of your media. So we're going to use bullet points and numbering to help users tab from point to point. We're going to use proper headings to your slideshow and your documents. This will make finding specific content easier and that way they don't have to go through long bits of text, and not be able to find stuff. Also, having landmarks on the page is to signify location within the document is very helpful. These can be things like headers, footers, and page numbers, as you can see at the bottom right of my screen. I have a number 7. That is my page number, and screen readers will pick up on that. Use tables to organize data. This will place data in such a way that it will make things easier to go through for those using screen readers. As opposed to a ton of numbers being read off in an indiscernible manner, they will be able to tab through the data and find content. And this is really important because, if you don't categorize it the right way, the data can just be a large just string of numbers, and no one can handle that. It just make things a lot easier to put those in a table. All right, here are just some general PowerPoint accessibility tips. When in doubt of accessibility, use the built-in accessibility checker, which is found in the tools section on the PowerPoint app. Many document programs have this as well, so be sure to check it out. Try to find it on everything if you can. It'll help you keep everything in check and you don't overlook things. 2, I have always used large and clear fonts so that the text is legible. I recommended using Arial, but most sans serif fonts work as long as they're like this nice size and they're clear, no frills, just straight text, then you should be fine. When exporting slideshows and other formats, use the PDF export rather than the HTML export. PDF contains the accessibility features that are translated from the slideshow, unlike the HTML, which loses all that, and you have to go in the HTML and fix it with the alt tags in the code. And then always ensure that the arrangement of your content is correct with the Arrange tab. In the app, there'll be a section that reads Arrange right here, and so you can play with the order right there. And obviously with this one, it's pretty straightforward, but you would go to here and use the Arrange, and you would order the image and ensure that it gets read last and the page number is very last. Just so things don't get out of order. That really helps with accessibility, because when you're pasting things in, it sometimes mixes it up. If you go in through and add an images in at the end, it may put the picture in at the very end, and you may not want that. Just play it by ear. And then, as far as web accessibility goes, I would like to introduce other web accessibility checkers. If you design a web page, and they're definitely free web accessibility tools you can use. I have the Wave accessibility tool, and that's what Miami recommends for its web pages. So I'll take you there. But pretty much what you do is you copy it in and you paste your web address there. So I'll run the website that I just did, that is currently live right here. And it'll give me a wave report on everything, and it'll tell me all the stuff that I need to do, errors that I'll have to go in and fix, and it'll even highlight certain things, and it'll give you green checks on the things you do. So just keep that in mind as a great tool for you to use in your websites. And there's also another great tool built into Chrome, and while I'm in my handy dandy Chrome web browser here, I'm going to show you. So we're going to go in here, and I'm going to go back to my same website. Okay, let me full screen here. Alright, I'm going to inspect. This is in the inspector mode. So I'm going to go over to audits. And here you can do a multitude of things. You see, you have performance audits, best practices, accessibility, SEO. For this presentation, I will just show you accessibility. But feel free to look at everything, and you can play with all these nerd statistics here if you want. I'll do the accessibility on the desktop because that's really what we're looking at here. You can also do mobile. There is a difference, believe it or not. Alright, so let's see. It runs Lighthouse, and it has found some flaws. But what it does is it gives you a readout on things you need to fix, See, it's these little nitpicks that a lot of people don't really go through and see, and it tells you what you passed and what you failed. Not unique tags. These are fine tuning things. Not enough color contrast on your page. That's probably looking at blue on white here. But other than that, it's doing solid. But you can see, use those tools and help fine tune those little quirks you got. Alrighty. All right. Now, other accessibility tools to share. These are all very important too. These are for people who are more, just browsing the web. If you know someone who is like, man, I really wish, X problem on the web would be more accessible. Well, it'd be nice, if everybody had accessibility in mind when they design their websites, but not everyone does. So feel free to share these tools with people who, don't uh, don't just use our sites, who want to browse the web and have these tools to help them out. Let's see, my fiance's dad is actually colorblind and he uses this bottom one here, but we'll get to it. First one is Master Volume Master, and so what this does is it volume boosts you, and so that helps people with hearing disabilities because some things on the internet can be very hard to hear. Then we also have the Read Aloud, which is a nice text to speech. And I've named all these as good examples because they're all free. Okay. The color enhancer too. That's the one he uses, and you can change the color layouts and contrasts to help you to your at your own discretion. It's not like a set filter. So that's what's really nice about it, and it's all free. Just check it out. Try and share it with someone who needs it. But yeah, other than that, that's been my presentation. If you guys have any questions, just hit me up and let me know. I'm always willing to talk about it. Um, but yeah, thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next video.